Hi guys, I'm Yaz Christou, 2019 European and National Aquathlon Champion in my age group, and today I'm discussing my tales, my journey, part 5, the 2019 season, which was a fantastic season for me. 2 gold medals, 2 championships, and moving into triathlons. So, the 2019 season, a big step up for me. As mentioned on my previous video, that the 2018 season I tested the water for triathlon, where I came second in my only triathlon that year. So I had decided that the aquathlons would be my last year in 2019. I'd have a year break and I'd move solely to focusing on triathlons, and I would compete in the European and the European and the World Aquathlon Championships and the Nationals, but mainly focusing more on triathlons. So I was doing more cycling, so I changed my training up, and I started doing 3 bike sessions a week, more quantity on that area, and speed sessions. So it was all new to me because I was only just ticking my legs over the previous year, and I was carrying over swimming, 4 swim sessions a week, 2 strength sessions, and 4 runs. So I decided to work with Steve Keane more on my running for the whole season, and also Mark Shepherd for my cycling. So what happened? So the first race of the season for me was the Cranbrook Triathlon, sprint triathlon. It was my first one and it was all new to me, and I came 5th overall and first in my age group, so I was really happy with that. That set me up for the season. I knew I wasn't very strong on the bike. I was the fastest runner and the fastest swimmer on that particular race, so it was looking good. I then turned up early May to the World Aquathlon Championships, first big race of the year, and I had to peak for that, so it was quite early on in the season, and it was good, quite a good location, Pontevedra. I really enjoyed the area, but it was very early on in the season, and a week leading up to it I had a cold. I tried getting out in the lake to swim because it was too cold in the sea, and the lake's only just opened up, so it was early, well, it was late April and the race was in May, early start of May. So I turned up to the race, decided to give it my all. I knew my swimming had gone really well. The river was was really cold. So I started the race, nervous, mindset, just to try my best. This wasn't my important race of the year, if you know what I mean. So just went out to enjoy it. And I remember coming out in transition, all wobbly because it was really cold. It was a long transition, got into transition, got onto the run, and I had a really good run, started overtaking people, and I finished 7th, which was the best, one of my best races for me, and I was the first Great Britain guy back. So I was really happy with that, and it was nice to end that the World Championships for the aquathlon team, just ending it in that sort of way. So that was that, and then a few days later we came back home and headed off to Spetses for the Aquathlon, which is in Greece, in an island called Spetses. I was asked to come over and compete by the organisers, and it was a sprint triathlon, and I was also meant to do the swim races the day before. So we turned up on the Friday. It was quite a long journey because we had to get to the airport, then we flew to Athens, then we had got a boat ride from Athens to Spetses, the tiny island, and that was 3 hours, so it was a long day. By the time we got there, I was shattered. So we had the swim races the following day. So we got there on the Friday, and we got invited to go and meet go for a meal with all the organisers and the athletes. And I didn't realise when we were sitting at a table how many athletes they actually had over from various places. They had Olympians, gold medalists, Paralympians. So it was very inspiring. And I sat next to a Paralympian swimmer that won gold medals for Cyprus in the previous Olympics, and her guide, and I was just blown away by the experiences and the training they go through and stuff. And I got to admit, I was very out of my depth, and I was quite shy with all these well-known athletes, and they had a cyclist, gold medalist cyclist there. So I was like, wow. So I decided that night, because that was quite late, the meal, I didn't want to swim the following day for the race because I was really tired from travelling. So, which I regret now, because it was a lovely event. We had a lovely hotel looking over the event as well. So I wish I did that, but it gave me time to recover. I picked up a bike I was hiring. They sorted out me a bike out there, and I would have liked to brought my own bike, but apparently it cost a lot, and I got this hired bike, and it was a good bike. The frame was good and stuff, but I think the equipment on it wasn't like the chain and stuff wasn't up to scratch. It was all clunky, and I really struggled when I was practicing the day before on it. So I wasn't really looking forward to cycling it because I didn't know how it was going to go. So I turned up to the race quite nervous. Transition area was quite big, and there was loads of people doing this. It's the biggest triathlon in Greece. So turned up really warm day. We were told we could wear wetsuits, so we were lucky just to wear them. It was just on the edge of it being non-wetsuit swim. So I wore my wetsuit. Was really panicky. They nervous. They announced some people's names, and they announced my name and where I came from and what I've done. So I was really nervous about it. There was a few age groupers that I knew as well there. So I decided to, so the whistle went off, ran into the sea, started swimming, and tried pulling away. And I noticed, because everyone was doing different races, there was relays and stuff, that the guide and the Paralympian that I saw the evening before, I saw them, and I knew that what they were saying, how fast they were. So I tucked in behind them and then overtook them towards the end of the swim, came out in the swim into transition. It was actually my fastest ever swim, and I actually took a minute and a half off my previous 750 metre swim times. So that was a good start. Got into transition. I think I was second in transition. Out on the bike, overtook a few people on the relay. So I was second in my race, and going on the bike, and the course was super hilly, and I was getting a lot of people overtaking me on the bike, and mentally I had to stay focused. I really struggled in that race because my mind was all over the place, and it did get tough. I was going up hills, and I was really struggling with the gears. I wasn't used to the bike. The bike wasn't my bike, and every time I was going up the hill, it felt heavy and just didn't feel right. And people kept going past me, and I wasn't brave enough to go fast on the bike as well, going downhill sections. So I came into transition, determined to still give it a go, and got onto the run, and I was overtaking people on the run, kept to the corners, because this is what I normally do in a race. You need to stick to the corners, don't go over. You don't need to go over on the run. You need to take the shortest possible course. That's how they measure it. And I came back, and I was overtaking a lot of people, and I was gaining a lot of time, and I finished 11th overall, and I was third in my age group. So I was really happy with that, considering I had the second fastest swim in my in the race, and I had the second fastest run. I was the second slower than the race leader, but my bike was something like 45th or something fastest. So I knew I had to work on the bike, and so that was a good experience. That set me up knowing that I'm competitive in triathlon, and I didn't know what the season was going to hold. So I did a few more triathlons. I was getting stronger, and I was getting stronger on the bike. In July, I did the Tri-Spirits Aula triathlon, and I again had one of my fastest swims. So swimming was going really well, fastest I've ever been swimming, and came out and transition onto the bike because I was leading the bike, and because I was doing the sprint triathlon, because they had the standard and the long distance races. There was different courses, and I wasn't sure I took the right turning. So on the sprint one, I came back round the roundabout. I was convinced that I saw the right turns. I took the right turn, and I was out on my own for the best part of probably 7-8 miles on the bike. And I kept looking behind, which I shouldn't have done because I wasn't sure, and there wasn't many marshals as well where it was because it was in a quiet place. And again, I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing. And mentally, when you're like on your own and you think, oh, what have I gone wrong? What am I going to do? And stuff like that. And then a cyclist came past me, and I asked him, is this the right race sprint? And then I was like, okay. So I tried to keep up with him. He was good cyclist. And as soon as we got back into, I lost probably about 30-40 seconds on him. Got on a transition. I was like, right, I've got to go for it. I've got a good chance of, I know I'm strong on the run. I've been hitting good times on the run off the back of the bike. My legs seem to be fine. And I hit a good time, and overtook the guy about a mile into the run, and I had 2 miles. I pulled away a little bit and then eased off, and was really happy. First ever triathlon win, so that was good. And because I was moving more to triathlons, and I was only doing the 3 big key aquathlon races. So then I turned my attention to the European, to compete for the European Aquathlon Championships, and I really wanted to go out on a high and aim for podium place. And so I worked really hard, and my running was getting better. My biking obviously didn't matter, and the aquathlon was getting better. My swimming was really, really good as well, and I was keeping up the strength work. So 4 or 5 days before the race, I did a mini interval session. Well, it was the weekend before, and the race was on the Thursday, and I had some pain in my foot after I stopped, and I was struggling to walk for 2 days, and I was really concerned. On a Monday, I went to my physio, and I was convinced I'd broken something in my foot or a stress fracture. I was like, I don't know. It didn't get any worse, but it was gradually getting better before I went to physio. So my physio, Andy Butley, he did some checks, like check it with stress fracture. He said, I can't see anything wrong. It must be soft tissue, like pain or something. He said, I can't see anything wrong. He said, go for a run, do what you're meant to do, because I was going to do some strides and some little sprints. And he said, come back later on, I've got a guy coming to scan it. And so I did it. Didn't get any worse when I was running. And also knowing that, telling me he doesn't think there's anything wrong. And I've been there so many times where I've turned up before a big race with something wrong, and I've always got through it. And he said history repeats in itself. And he said I've always got through it. So there will be times that he will have to pull me away from a race, but he said he hasn't had to do it yet. So I was motivated, and I felt better just from him saying that. I turned up and I did the scan, nothing wrong. So the race was on the Thursday in Romania, in Târgu Mureș, and turned up to the race day with a pain in my foot still. I didn't know if I was going to get through the race or not, but I just wanted to focus. So the race, obviously I was really nervous. I felt a bit more pressure. I blocked myself out from everyone. I had what I do in transition, listen to music, go and relax before race, go and do my own warm up as well before the race starts, and then I got ready just in time for for the start. It started, and I did the swim. The swim I found was a little bit tough, but went okay, and came into transition. I thought I had a bad swim. With the swimming, it's a bit difficult to know if you're out on your own and you lose like the pack. It's a bit hard to know how good the swim is. And the course wasn't the greater course when you got into one, because it was 4 laps, and got into transition and noticed there was still a few people still haven't come out of the water, and there was quite a few that have come out. So got into the run, and I just went for it, and I started overtaking people, and I sort of knew some of the names in my age group, and I overtook a few early on in the first lap. And then I had my wife and my friend's wife telling me what position I was, but I was convinced I was higher, and it got a bit complicated because there was other people coming out on the swim, and like there was a particular time where I was overtaking the leader, which I had to gather. Well, I thought he could be the leader, and then at the same time there was another guy that had been lapped, just come out the water, the lake, and he was quite quick, and he was up with us for a bit, so that sort of complicated things. But when I got on the last lap, I saw I was quite high up, because I knew that the people in front of me were super quick, and the ones from different age groups. And when I was convinced I'd placed in the top 3. I wasn't sure about like winning, but I was convinced it was the top 3. And I crossed the line, and he called my name out as a European age group champion in my age group, and it was the most amazing feeling. I couldn't believe it. I was absolutely stunned and shocked, and I worked hard to get back on the podium from 2016. I listened to the coaches, and hard work does pay off, and that was what I always believed in. And the atmosphere was just, I just felt amazing, and couldn't believe it. It didn't sink into the evening when they did the medal ceremony, and I got on the podium, and it was just like, it was unbelievable. I was just over the moon that I was a European aquathlon champion, and here's my medal, and I'm quite proud of it. I'm really proud of it. I never thought I'd achieve something like that. So that was that, and that set me up for the rest of the season. A massive high. Start more triathlons, placing in them, and the next one up was the National Triathlon Championships in Bedford, Sprint Triathlon Championships, and this was the first time for a big triathlon race for me, and this was one of the qualifiers for the 2020 Malmo European Triathlon Sprint Championships. So my goal was to try and see where I could get, and if I to try and qualify. I was only doing one qualifier race just to test the water and see, and started the race. Well, I was nervous, I'm not going to deny, really nervous. I had to, like what I've learned from, like I've told you in previous videos, control the controllable. Everything outside your hands, you can't, just don't worry about it. And so I was nervous, sleepless night the night before, and I did everything right leading up to it. I was in great shape, and the swim went off, and I actually came out, and the leader in my age group was quite far in front, but I was in the second pack with about 6 people, so I came out second into transition technically with the pack, and got onto the bike and started really well. The bike was looking good at the time, and then I had my new TT bike, and it started raining, and I went round a roundabout, and I nearly slid, and I was absolutely terrified. So I slowed down, and mentally that affected me, because I actually slowed down, and it started chucking down with rain even more. Got onto the run. Now, before I did have trails with me, but I didn't realise the run was all off-road, and I was debating whether to, but obviously it was nice, sunny and really warm before before my race started, and even halfway through the bike. Got onto the run, overtook loads of people on the run, my strongest point. Loved the run, and finished, and I was shivering because it was so cold afterwards and chucking down, so we decided to leave. Found out I came 11th and in my age group, so I was really happy with that for the first time. Could have been a bit better. I was only a minute or so off, like getting in the top 10 or even higher, like 5th, so it wasn't too bad considering my bike. I slowed down, and so I was happy with it. And I found out that I just missed out on the qualifying place by automatic qualifying place by 0.01% or what it was. So, but I did get a roll down place later on, and so I was over the moon. I'll talk about that in a bit. So then I had the last race of the season was the National Aquathlon Championships. I wanted to defend my title. Great shape again, felt good. I felt really confident, looking forward to it, and turned up to our hotel, relaxed the night before, and then we in the middle of the night, I went to bed early, about 9:30, 10 o'clock it was. We had to get up early to get to the race, and 12 o'clock the fire alarm goes off, and I could not get back to sleep. I was absolutely shattered. At 4 o'clock in the morning, me and my wife were still up, and we had to be up about 6:30. I was walking around the hotel outside the grounds trying to get some fresh air to try and go back to sleep. I went back to sleep, got up, and I was just absolutely shattered, completely shattered. Turned up to the race in the morning, and some friends who are athletes said to me, "Oh, you look very tired." And I said, "Yeah, I couldn't get back to sleep from the alarm." And they said, "Oh, it was their fire alarm that went off, condensation in their room." And they said they were really sorry, but it wasn't their fault. It was obviously the hotels. So I didn't know. I just changed my target just to see what I could do. So I came out, I started the race, came out in the swim. This was in Arundel, and came into transition. Felt like I felt absolutely like rubbish, and I thought my run, I thought the swim had gone wrong. Came out on the run, I saw people well in front of me that normally aren't, and I started closing them down, going from, and about 1k from the end, I was right behind the guy that came second at European Aquathlon Championships earlier on, so I knew I was competing with him, I knew I was up there, and I had nothing left, so I decided that what can I do, and I stayed behind him for a little bit, and then I thought, right, about 800 metres to go, I'm going to pull away and see what happens. If he goes, I'm not going to be able to go. So I pulled away, and about 400 metres, I looked around and he wasn't there, and I kept going, and then I got to the towards finish line, and I knew I'd won, and I was like that. I could not believe it, that I'd been a double national champion and managed to defend my championship in my age group. Just to defend it and to win it twice, I was just over the moon, amazed, and it was a great end to the season. Here's my medal. You'll probably see it's exactly the same as last year's, but it's a bit different at the back. It says 2019 champion. So that was that. I was over the moon. 2 gold medals, a national champion again, and a European champion in my age group. So I decided that was it for aquathlons, and I was moving to triathlons for 220. Now, it was always a dream for me to qualify for a triathlon team, and 220 was going to be a season for me to try and qualify for team. But I actually got a roll down place later on in 2019 for the ETU 2019 Malmo European Championships, and I couldn't believe it. I was so proud of what I've achieved. I was really happy that hard work pays off, and just working at your goals, your dreams, they can come true. So I'm very much looking forward to competing at the European Championships, Sprint Triathlon Championships for the GB team. It obviously is very hard to get into it. So I'm looking forward to what 220 brings, and I'd like to say thanks for listening and continuing to listen and watching. Please leave some comments and subscribe and like the video. Thank you.
And the champions of this age group category, Henrietta Parasavic and Yanis Christodoulou, Team GB.
Christodoulou.